What I'm about to tell you isn't just a story. It's a warning. A testament to the thin line between dreams and reality, and what happens when that line disappears entirely. They tell us dreams are safe. That no matter how dark the corridors of our sleeping minds become, no matter what horrors chase us through the labyrinth of REM sleep, we'll always wake up. Safe in our beds. Safe in our bodies. Safe in our world. They were wrong. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I survived. What matters is that Marcus Chin didn't. Not entirely. And every night when that clock strikes 3:03 a.m., I remember why I never sleep deeply anymore. This is his story. This is their story. This is a story about apartment 503, and the door that should never have existed. Marcus Chen was 28 years old when he signed the lease on apartment 503 at Millbrook Towers. A software developer recently relocated for a new position downtown. Practical. Logical. The kind of man who debugged code for a living and believed in the ordered nature of reality. The apartment was perfect for his needs. 5th floor, 1-bedroom, hardwood floors that creaked pleasantly under his feet. The rent was reasonable. Suspiciously so, though Marcus attributed this to the building's age rather than anything more sinister. Mrs. Chin, the landlord, no relation despite sharing his surname, was eager to finalize the paperwork. Too eager, perhaps. She spoke quickly about quiet neighbors and building policies, but she never mentioned why the apartment had been vacant for 6 months. She never mentioned the 3 previous tenants who had broken their leases after exactly 1 week. And she certainly never mentioned the note. Marcus found it 3 days later, tucked behind the bathroom mirror when he was adjusting its position. A small piece of paper, yellowed at the edges, with handwriting that looked rushed, desperate. The dreams won't stop. Something's coming through. Don't let it end at 3:03. Whatever you do, don't let it end at 3:03. Marcus laughed it off. Creative writing student, he thought. Drama major. The kind of thing you'd find in any old apartment building. He crumpled the note and threw it away. He would remember that note later. When it was too late to heed its warning. There was something wrong with the hallway. Marcus noticed it on his second day when he was walking to the elevator with his laptop bag. He counted his steps out of habit, a programmer's mind automatically quantifying space. From his door to the elevator, 47 steps. But when he paced off the same distance inside his apartment from front door to back wall, it measured only 31 steps. 16 steps were missing somewhere. Old buildings, Marcus told himself. Wasted space. Architectural quirks from the 1960s when Millbrook Towers was built. But late at night, when the building settled and the walls creaked, he found himself thinking about those missing 16 steps. Where did they go? What filled that space between his apartment and the elevator shaft? The first dream came on his 4th night. Marcus had gone to bed at his usual time, tired from a long debugging session at work. He fell asleep easily to the sound of rain against his 5th floor windows. In the dream he was walking through a hallway. His hallway, he thought at first. Same cream-colored walls, same faded carpet with its geometric pattern. But as he walked, details began to shift like a photograph slowly developing in reverse. The carpet beneath Marcus's feet pulsed softly, like the flesh of something sleeping, each step sinking slightly into its warmth. The paint started peeling in long, curling strips that rustled when he passed. The modern LED lighting flickered and changed, becoming harsh fluorescent tubes that buzzed with electrical malfunction. And the hallway stretched ahead of him, growing longer with each step. Doors appeared on both sides, doors that couldn't exist, leading to apartments that wouldn't fit in the building's structure. At the very end, impossibly far yet close enough to read, was a door numbered 303. But Millbrook Towers only went to the 5th floor. And each floor only had apartments numbered 01 through 08. There was no room 303. There had never been a room 303. The number 303 pulsed with a sickly light, its hum vibrating in Marcus's teeth, like a heartbeat from something not quite alive. The air around the door smelled of damp rot, as if the brass doorknob had been corroding for centuries. He reached out for the knob, old brass, green with corrosion, and woke up. 3:03 a.m. Exactly. Marcus sat up in bed, heart hammering against his ribs. The dream had been so vivid, so real, that for several seconds he wasn't certain he was actually awake. He reached for his phone, checking the time again. 3:03 a.m. He got up and walked to his front door, opened it carefully and peered into the hallway. Normal. Quiet. 8 doors numbered 501 through 508. No peeling paint, no flickering lights, no door marked 303. Marcus took a selfie to shake off the dream's unease, but in the photo, a shadow stood behind him, a figure with his face smiling too widely. He spun around, but the apartment was empty. But as he counted his steps back to bed, a chill ran down his spine. 47 steps from his door to the elevator. Just like in the dream. The next night, Marcus tried to stay awake past 3:03 a.m. He made coffee, opened his laptop, worked on a side project that had been gathering digital dust. But around 2:45, his eyelids grew heavy despite the caffeine coursing through his veins. His smart speaker flickered to life at 2:59 a.m., its screen glowing red. Dream 2, initiating, it said in his own voice, though he hadn't spoken. The clock ticked to 3:03 and the speaker whispered, "Welcome to 3:03. The dream came again. This time the hallway was darker. The fluorescent lights cast dancing shadows that moved independently of their illumination. And the door to room 303 was open. Just a crack. But enough to see warm light spilling out from within. As Marcus approached, he could hear breathing from inside the room. Slow, measured like someone in deep sleep. But there was something wrong with the rhythm. Too regular, too mechanical, like a metronome set to the cadence of respiration. Underneath, a child's voice whispered his name, sharp and clear, as if it had been waiting for him all along. They were talking about him. Marcus pushed the door open wider and stepped inside. The room was impossible. It was his own bedroom, but wrong in every detail that mattered. The walls breathed with that same measured rhythm. His bed faced the wrong direction, covered with sheets that moved like dark water. And on the bed, lying perfectly still, was someone sleeping. It was him. Marcus stared at himself lying there, the same face, the same build, but wrong. The skin too pale, the hair too dark. And when this other Marcus breathed, his ribs moved in a way that suggested too much empty space inside his chest. The thing on the bed opened its eyes. They were Marcus's eyes, but they reflected the dream hallway, endless and twisting, with the door to 303 glowing faintly in their depths. The other Marcus smiled with his mouth, and when he spoke, it was with his voice, but the words came from somewhere else entirely. Almost time. Almost ready. Marcus woke up at his desk, neck stiff, drool on his keyboard. 3:03 a.m. But this time something was different. On his computer screen, instead of the code he'd been working on, there was a single line of text in his own handwriting style. Dream 2, complete. Preparation, 28.5%. Marcus stared at the screen, his heart rate climbing. He hadn't written those words. He was certain of it. But there they were, in his preferred font, in his coding style. He deleted the line and closed his laptop. As he did, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in the black screen. For just a moment, it looked like his reflection was smiling. Even though he wasn't. Marcus glanced at the bathroom mirror as he brushed his teeth. His reflection lagged, its movements a half-second behind, its smile lingering after he'd stopped. The air grew heavy, like the room was holding its breath. Marcus called in sick the next day, his first time in 3 years, and buried himself in research. Dreams, sleep disorders, the history of Millbrook Towers. What he found chilled him to the bone. Sound, pages turning, faint whispering, Marcus. Millbrook Towers stood on the ruins of the Millbrook Sanitarium, a psychiatric hospital closed in 1959 after unexplained deaths. A faded photograph slipped from the archive folder. Dr. Helena Marsh, her eyes too wide, too knowing, staring through him. As he set it down, a faint scratching came from the paper, like fingernails trapped inside the image. On X, Marcus found a thread titled, Apartment 503 Hauntings. Users described dreams of room 303, but as he scrolled, the posts vanished, replaced by a single message, "You're next, Marcus." His screen flickered, and his reflection in it blinked. One case stood out. David Thornton, admitted in 1957 for chronic insomnia. Dr. Marsh's notes were chilling. December 15th, all subjects dream of room 303. It calls their names and whispers they can't forget. Marcus froze. The whispers weren't just in the journal, they slithered from the corners of his apartment, repeating his name in time with the ticking clock. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chin, landlord. Mr. Chin, are you having problems with your sleep? Marcus felt ice water replace the blood in his veins. Why would you ask that? Because I've had 3 other tenants and 503 over the past 2 years. All young professionals, all healthy. And all broke their leases after 1 week, claiming they couldn't sleep. They all described the same dream, a hallway with a door numbered 303. Mrs. Chin, what was here before Millbrook Towers? A hospital. A psychiatric hospital. It burned down in 1959, but Mr. Chin, are you having the dreams? Marcus looked at his laptop screen. Words appeared, letter by letter, as if someone else was typing. Dream 3, tonight. Preparation, 57.8%. I have to go, Marcus whispered and ended the call. The screen continued. The door is almost ready. The switch is almost complete. Welcome home, Marcus. That night, Marcus didn't fight the pull toward sleep. Something drew him down like a riptide, and he knew resistance was futile. He'd considered leaving, checking into a hotel, but intuition told him the dreams would find him anywhere. He went to bed at 10 p.m. and the dream came immediately. He wasn't alone in the hallway. Others walked beside him, men and women of various ages, all striding toward room 303. Marcus recognized David Thornton from his 1957 patient photograph, his eyes empty, mirrors reflecting nothing. Welcome, Marcus, said a woman beside him. Dr. Helena Marsh, younger than in the newspaper photo, as if death had preserved her at the height of her experiments. This is a dream, Marcus said, his voice muffled like speaking through cotton. Is it? Dr. Marsh smiled, devoid of warmth. Mirrors are where dreams bleed into reality, Mr. Chin. They're the thin glass between your mind and ours. Every reflection you've ever seen has been watching, waiting, learning to wear your skin. They reached the door to 303 wide open now. Inside was a vast room filled with mirrors, antique hand mirrors, modern bathroom mirrors, funhouse mirrors twisting reflections into impossible shapes. Each mirror showed sleeping versions of the people in the hallway, lying in beds, breathing mechanically. You see, Dr. Marsh's voice echoed, the human consciousness is a house with many rooms. Most live in the bright front rooms. But in the back rooms, the basements, the attics, the dreams live. And if you pick the locks, you can move between them. Marcus tried to run, but his feet were rooted. What do you want from me? What? Dr. Marsh laughed, the sound distorting in the mirrors. We're moving, Mr. Chin. Trading places. Your reflection has been learning to be you, your gestures, your speech, your memories. It's ready. Tonight, it wakes in your place. Marcus was pushed into the room. Each mirror showed his reflection living his life, typing code at work, laughing with his mother, sleeping peacefully in his bed. Which one is real? Dr. Marsh asked. The you here or the you in those reflections? At the center stood an enormous antique mirror, its frame carved with symbols that stung the eyes. The surface was dark like black water. Something moved within, his face but not him. Step inside, Dr. Marsh whispered. Your reflection is waiting. The mirror's surface rippled, pulling Marcus like a magnet. The whispers twisted into a language that clawed at his mind, promising to take his place. He fell forward into the darkness. But he didn't wake up. Marcus was on the wrong side of the mirror, looking out at the room. The glass was a barrier of ice. His reflection, the thing that wasn't him, stood, adjusting its posture, practicing his expressions. Thank you, Marcus, it said, tilting its head to match his nervous tick. I know how you cried when your dog died at 12. I know the code you wrote last week. Line 47 had an error, didn't it? I'm ready to be you now. Its limbs bent too fluidly, like a marionette with loose strings, fingers twitching as if counting down. Marcus pounded the mirror, screaming silently. He was trapped in a reversed world where nothing was solid. How long do I have? The doppelganger asked Dr. Marsh. Until dawn, she replied, checking a pocket watch. Then the switch is permanent. He'll be trapped forever and you'll live his life. The doppelganger nodded and walked toward the door, ready to steal Marcus's existence. Sound, electrical crackling, glass fracturing. The lights strobed wildly and spiderweb cracks spread across the mirrors. Dr. Marsh shrieked, "What's happening?" "Someone's fighting back," said a voice. David Thornton stood at the threshold, not the empty-eyed version but alive, furious. "You think you're the only ones who navigate dreams?" David said. "Some of us have planned our escape for decades." Mirrors exploded in cascading waves, reflections scattering like birds. The barrier thinned. "The mirrors are the anchor points," David shouted. "Break them and the pathway collapses." The previous tenants and patients appeared, fighting back. "Now," David commanded. "Break through." Marcus threw himself against the glass. Marcus woke in his bed, gasping like a drowning man. His heart hammered. The clock read 3:03 a.m., but the light was wrong, too white like the fluorescence from his nightmares. Everything was as he'd left it, but the dresser mirror was cracked in a jagged lightning bolt. In the crack, Dr. Marsh and the dreamwalkers pounded silently, their mouths screaming soundlessly, trapped in their reflected prison. A text from an unknown number: "You're free. We all are. Thanks for closing the door. The mirror world is sealed. DT." The figures faded, leaving only Marcus's real reflection. But as he turned away, the crack in the mirror formed a perfect number: 303. Somewhere very faintly a clock ticked. Not counting down. Just waiting. Epilogue. The warning, 1915 to 2030. Marcus moved out of apartment 503 that morning, forfeiting his deposit. Mrs. Chin didn't ask questions. She'd seen that look before. The apartment sat empty for 3 months. They removed the mirrors, repainted, replaced the flooring. But the thin places where dream and reality war against each other remained. Residents still report dreams of endless hallways, impossible doors, reflections that don't match. Always ending at 3:03 a.m. The door to 303 is sealed, but seals weaken. Barriers thin. New people move into old buildings, unaware of the history, believing dreams are harmless. Remember this when you wake at 3:03 a.m., staring at your reflection. When it moves too late or smiles when you don't. Some dreams don't end when you wake. They're waiting to begin. If you find yourself in a dream hallway facing a door marked 303, run. Don't look back. Some doors once opened never close. Sweet dreams. Don't check your mirrors tonight.